This episode is brought to you by Arcadia. Arcadia 7 is now available to patrons at the $5 or $10 levels. This month's issue features more and better magic items for druids, a new NPC, Aethelfair, the Forest Warden, along with a cool encounter to make it easier for DMs to drop him into their game, and the Pickling Guild, the new organization for adventuresome culinary enthusiasts, aka foodies, who may be more than they seem. And, of course, a dope new cover, this one a little more whimsical, but with a touch of the morbid. You may not use everything in this issue, but I predict you will enjoy reading it and be inspired by something. On with the show. Some of my very early advice for new dungeon masters is, no matter how tempting it might be, never ever pull back the curtain and tell your players what's really going on behind the screen. And while I stand by that, it is good advice. By now you should know that anytime I say never or always, there is probably an asterisk in there somewhere. And today, we're going to talk about that asterisk. When is it okay to tell your players what is really going on behind the screen? Well, first of all, the point of the original advice is about preserving the player's belief in your world. My goal as a dungeon master is to present the secondary world as a real place, to make it feel real, to help my players suspend their disbelief, which they want to do. Remember, it's called willing suspension of disbelief. The audience, the reader, the player is complicit in the deception. They want to believe in the reality of this fantasy because that belief is what gives the game stakes. It's why the players care about anything, because they believe it matters, because they have decided to act like it's real, and that is what's called willing suspension of disbelief. And it's something we do anytime we watch a movie and care about the people on screen, or read a book and care about the imaginary people on the page. But the thing is, being a dungeon master means you're constantly improvising solutions to the player's nonsense. You rebuild the adventure on the fly so it is pointing in the direction the player is deciding to go. You rewrite your lore so it makes sense with what the players are doing, and you rebalance encounters while you are running the encounter. And it's sort of unfair, right? When the players come up with brilliant ideas on the spot, they get rewarded for it. When you come up with some brilliant solution to keep the game moving, you have to keep your mouth shut. Because if you start talking about how you totally changed the adventure so the player's cool idea would work, then they realize this world of yours isn't real. It's all made up. There are no dragons, really. There are no dungeons. It's all fake. Being a dungeon master is a little like being a computer programmer. There are brilliant little works of art, ingenious solutions happening in the code that no one will ever see, which you were all familiar with, obviously, because you've all read the story of Mel. The illusion only works if the players believe the dragon did all this, not you. All you did was open a black box, look inside, and describe what you saw the dragon doing. That's not me being clever or poetic, it really feels like that. When I write, I just put two characters in a room, I listen to what they say, and I write it down. I am as surprised by what the characters in my novels say or do as you are. Dungeon mastering feels exactly the same way. When it's all working, I don't feel like I made all this up. I feel like all I did was I watched the Black Iron Pact and I reported back on their schemes. So to a certain extent, we're all being fooled. I pretend this is a real world and I'm just reporting on what I see because that's what it feels like. And you pretend like this is all real and it all really matters because that's what it feels like. So that's the rule. It doesn't matter how proud you are of your improvised solution or how smart it was. If you tell the players about it, if you remind them it's not real and you made it up, you ruin their fun. Period. Do not do that. Yeah, except, sometimes pulling the curtain back can be a tool on its own. Remember, we are charlatans. Our goal is to trick the players into believing this is all real, and I will use every deception I can think of to sell the illusion. And sometimes that includes showing them what it actually says in the adventure. It's weird, but players like knowing this is what really would have happened. They don't like feeling as though you altered reality to keep them alive or made sure they had fun. They want to stay alive and they want to have fun, but they want to do all of these things while believing in the reality of the secondary world. So, for instance, running Night Below, Lars's elf gets kidnapped by some other elves who give him a quest, and he gets his own little interlude, and afterwards he accuses me of kidnapping his character on purpose because I was afraid he wasn't having fun, and maybe I thought he'd get a kick out of getting his own little side quest. In other words, he was metagaming. He didn't accept what happened at face value. He wasn't thinking about the elves and what they want. He was thinking about me and my intentions. Whenever I'm challenged like that, and I think every player, including me, has these moments, I understand that really what they're looking for is reassurance. They don't like seeing the code behind the matrix. It ruins the fun for them, and they want someone to assure them, nope, it's all real. Well, what makes something real in this context? It's written down in the adventure? Even though the adventure is just a bunch of nonsense made up by people exactly like me, so it can be hard to accept that for some reason, this nonsense is more real than this nonsense. But it is. There's something in the human brain that wants to believe in, follow authority. And the more formal and removed the authority is, the easier it is to believe in. The fact that it is written down in an official product gives it some weight. And even though it is profoundly silly and actually a little frightening that this is true, I accept that it's true, so I show Lars the adventure. I break the rule. I pull back the curtain and I show him, look, it's written right here. They grab an elf first, then any half-elves, and then any random PC. When he saw that, he relaxed and he went back to believing. These elves were real and following their own authentic goals, as was written down in the sacred text. Much better than me just making it up. So that's one reason to pull back the curtain. Sometimes the players don't believe this is what really would have happened, and you gotta show them. But there are other good reasons to show your work. I find sometimes pulling back the curtain can make the world seem more real if what you show the players is an alternate reality, how things could have gone. In the 4E game I'm running, the players are escorting some villagers through a dark and mysterious forest when they are attacked by a griffin who's just hungry and sees a whole flock of humans and figures no one's gonna miss one. And I hope that sounds interesting to you, by the way, because this one encounter turned into like 4 running the game videos. Because this griffin is a predator, it's not easy to spot. There are some rolls required to even notice the griffin is about to attack, and the players fail them. No problem, they're escorting 30 other humans, so one of them spots the griffin. The players realize what is about to happen. The griffin is going to snatch a human and fly away. Through some good rolling, along with his own experience living in this forest and his ability to judge an enemy's intentions in the heat of battle, Zoga, the Ghoul warlord, can tell which human the griffin is aiming for. There's no way the heroes will be able to kill the griffin before it can strike, so Zoga uses his movement to run to the old woman the griffin is aiming for, uses his action to push her down, and puts himself between her and the griffin. It's brilliant and heroic and exactly what D&D is about. The griffin doesn't really care which human it grabs, so it grabs Zoga. Well, he knew the job was dangerous when he took it. Now the challenge is, can we stop this griffin from flying away with our warlord? And spoilers, the answer was yes. After the session, the players are just floating on cloud 9 because of how their actions literally saved someone and how brave they were and how much teamwork it took. And I let them know I had a whole side quest ready for what happens if someone is kidnapped by the griffin, flown to its mountain eyrie, and fed to its newborn griffin chicks. The players loved that. Even though I was pulling back the curtain and I was showing them something I had planned, an alternate reality that didn't happen, it reinforced the idea that there are consequences to their actions. And if they hadn't pushed the old lady down or rescued Zoga, there would be a whole new quest to find the griffin's nest. I try to do this sparingly. Do it too often and you get the opposite effect. You remind everyone it's a game with predetermined branches. But every once in a while, telling the players how things would have gone if they hadn't been heroes makes them feel more like heroes. What we shouldn't do is pull back the curtain to show them how we cleverly changed what we had planned to suit their actions, or changed the monster's hit points to keep the battle a challenge, or pulled our punches during combat to avoid an unwarranted TPK. That stuff is off limits. But showing the players the adventure to assure them this is all real, or showing them an alternate reality that they avoided through their own heroism, these can reinforce the reality of the secondary world, and at the end of the day, that illusion is all we got. Thanks for watching, everyone. Short video, but I think there are some important lessons in here, and I hope it spurs some thought. Next video, a surprise. Until then, get vaxxed, and peace out.